Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. Mason Mount has signed for Manchester United. I'm going to give my thoughts on this one today. It's not necessarily going to be a news video, but we knew we were losing a lot of players this summer. We knew that a massive change, a massive shift, a focus maybe on who are the key men. It was always going to happen after probably Chelsea's worst season of my lifetime since 1994. Considering what we'd spent, considering the expectations, considering how we've put ourselves on a pedestal only as recently as 2021 as champions of Europe, you would have expected Chelsea to do considerably better. This summer was going to be crazy. There were going to be players leaving who maybe shouldn't be leaving, and there were going to be lots of them. And by the end of June, Chelsea have managed to make £125 million just on Mount and Havertz. We have offloaded numerous players to Saudi Arabia that was surplus to requirements at Chelsea Football Club, made good money from that one. Hakim Ziyech, the medical failed, so he might be staying at Chelsea at the moment, and now this is public knowledge that there's an issue with his leg. Chelsea might fail to get rid of him, we might struggle to find a suitor because he won't be able to pass the medical. So, this is an issue, but we're talking about 8 million for Hakim Ziyech to move to Saudi Arabia. Not the crazy sums of money that everyone's been shouting about Chelsea having connections with Saudi Arabia. You need to be looking at the Premier League clubs. 60 million from Manchester United for a player with 1 year left on his deal. West Ham managed to sell Declan Rice for 134 million euros, and he also has a year on his deal. Would I say Declan Rice, in my opinion, in terms of what I've seen from Mount's career, Rice's career, would I say that Declan Rice is double the value of Mount? Absolutely not. I think West Ham have done very well there. And 60 million euros, yes, we can all look at Mount's form last season and think, well, he wasn't that good. He scored 3 goals in the Premier League. He was poor. It wasn't good enough. So 60 million with 1 year left. Great business, but comparatively, I think West Ham have absolutely taken Arsenal to the cleaners. And for 60 million euros, Mason Mount is a brilliant signing for Manchester United. Yes, he is going to be vying to play in similar positions to that of Christian Eriksen, who's been good, Bruno Fernandes as well. It's not going to be straightforward, but I think Mount walks into that team. And I think the Mount of the season just gone was a Mount who was let down by Chelsea Football Club. Chelsea Football Club knew all along Mason Mount wants to remain at Chelsea. And throughout the process of the beginning of last season, Mount lost favour with the club. Mount lost trust with the club, and then eventually communications break down. There's animosity between Mason Mount and his camp, Chelsea Football Club, and amidst all of this you've got Graham Potter as your manager, then you got Frank Lampard coming back as your manager, you lose multiple games in a row, and Manchester United come knocking on the door, whilst Chelsea Football Club, what were we doing to allow this to happen in the first place? There are a lot of people on the surface delighted that Mason Mount has left Chelsea. There's also a fair chunk of people that don't actually think that he's very good. So thank goodness we got 60 million euros for him, and good luck at Man United. We don't care, you're not good enough. I just don't see how people can come up with this Mount isn't a good player story. He works incredibly hard. Gareth Southgate always picking him for England as well. And I think Mount leaving is not just poor from the ownership at Chelsea, who should have been able to get this done. Mount embodies what being a Chelsea player should be. When we look at the dynasties that we've dreamed of with managers, we've never achieved that. Something I've always wanted as a fan is to have a manager always there. When it comes to those players, John Terry, Frank Lampard, Petr Cech, Didier Drogba, Ashley Cole, these players who made Chelsea feel like a family. Because we had players all over the pitch. Young, aspiring footballers had incredible players to look up to all over the pitch, and they stayed. They didn't just keep on moving. When they said they wanted to play for Chelsea and they loved the club, there were tears when these players said goodbye. Fabregas cried when he walked off at Stamford Bridge. Players loved playing for Chelsea, and Mason Mount, a player who's been here since he was 8, who has been caught in the press saying all of these things all of his life about how much he bleeds blue, he loves this football club, this is my club. And I feel as though he's been let down by that club. We're not 100% sure yet. I'm sure within time we will get to understand why and what it was that was the real ignition for this falling out between Mount and Chelsea. We will find this out in due course, one day. Maybe soon, maybe later. But at the same time, I think Mount was one of those players. Reece James is still there, Trevor's still there, but Mount had that personality that when the start of that season, when we were going to Norwich away, Mount's there scoring those goals, he scores the one at home to Leicester. I remember going to all those games and you're looking across the field, and I always said it in my videos, I said Reece James is the best player that Chelsea Football Club have, and he will become the best player at this club, which I still believe today. But with Mount, there was a connectability there. The reason why he had so many fans, as some people like to say, licking his arse or, pushing him to the limelight too much, he's not that good, he don't deserve this praise. It's not necessarily always about being the best footballer. It's about making you, as a fan, feel something that you relate to with the player playing for your club because you feel like they love it as much as you do. And I think that is what the reason I'm so upset that Mount has actually left. I already knew this was going to happen. It wasn't going to work at Chelsea. The moment these communications get let down, the moment Reece James is putting on his Instagram stories about if you're not willing to carry the bricks, then you're not the ones to build with. This is the Mount situation. Whether there's no proof of this or not, but it's just so obvious that Chelsea, Reece James, who in my opinion is Mr. Chelsea, I know it's just Twitter, but when he says he's not going to sign for Arsenal, it means he wants to be at Chelsea for the rest of his career. These are the players who I said the other day I didn't want to use proper Chelsea, but to use it for what the meaning is to me, Reece James is that guy. And it's the end of an era. With Mount leaving the club, I do feel as though this should never have been left to this position, so it shouldn't have gone in the first place, and I'm gutted about it. But also, it is a case of, he signs a 5+ 1 year deal at Manchester United. Chelsea were offering him a 1 year extension at one point, but he said that he didn't like the terms of the deal. And if it's not for money, then Chelsea offered you a big sum of money. Man United have offered a bit more, up to 300 grand a week with bonuses, and you've left Chelsea for Man United. So at the end of the day, I understand it. The club was in chaos. Manchester United, probably the biggest club in England, for sure. And when they come knocking on the door and you're going through a horrible time at Chelsea, why would you want to extend? You're 24 years old, in the prime of your career, and it makes sense. It does. I mean, I'm not happy about it. I'm not going to support Mount in the sense of he plays for a team that we should be competing with for Champions Leagues and Premier League titles. So I don't wish him well in that sense, but obviously I wish all players who leave Chelsea Football Club well with health. I don't want them to get injured, have a flourishing career, but make sure it isn't at Chelsea's loss, so to speak. With Kai Havertz as well, these two together is such a massive sum of money, but I think with Havertz, I'm even more worried about how good he could be at Arsenal. We have been waiting at Chelsea. Is it that Kai Havertz just isn't a good footballer? I don't think it is. Which is why if I was to make a prediction in this video, I think Havertz succeeds at Arsenal, maybe even more so than Mount succeeds at Manchester United. I think with Mount, unless he starts straight off the blocks back to what he was before last season, then I think he's going to have to work very hard for his place in that Man United team. I think there was more chance of him consistently getting into the Chelsea team, although I do think he starts for Man United. But with Havertz, could be used as a 10, could be used where Jesus is right now, could be used off the right, could be used as an 8, and I just think with a manager who's been working on a system now for so long, for a couple of years, Arsenal players know what Arteta's asking them to do. Havertz has been asked to do so many things at Chelsea, and not a single one of them is coming from the player. Kai Havertz was never the one who said he was a striker. He said that he doesn't mind playing as the number 9, but I think at Chelsea there was never clear instruction. There was always chopping and changing. There was defence-minded football at the start as well, and towards the end of Tuchel's reign. And I think overall, Havertz was let down by the way Chelsea play. I still think he's a great player. And Mount has been let down from the new owners not communicating properly. 60 million, it's okay, but it's not brilliant. And it is sad, in my opinion, that one of those players who embodied everything that Chelsea meant to me has now gone, so this one stings more than any of the other sales. It's not preferential treatment because I think Mount's special or anything like that, but it is the one that does strike home to me that the club is taking a massive gamble on buying all of these young players and letting players that could have been club legends who wanted to stay go. That's what I think's happened, and that's what I'm sad about. But yeah, I'm going to edit this video, upload it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Mount to Man United in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys later. Come on, you Blues.